Okay, we're going to practice our time before we start our lesson for today. So, did you know it might snow? Which is crazy. We're going to have some cold weather coming through. So I think I'll pick the snowy.
What is the time?
Okay, we always start with our little hands because remember, little kids go to bed the earliest or first. So we need to look at our tiny hand is pointed at the 10. Okay, so it can't be 12, it can't be 11:30, it has to be 10. But we need to check the minute hands, the big hands. I'm looking at the big hand and it's pointing at the 12, which means it's something o'clock. So we need to put the two pieces together. 10 o'clock.
Yay! It is 10 o'clock.
What is the time?
Okay, so we need to look at the little hand first. The little hand is pointed right here at what number? At the 7. So it can't be 6 o'clock, it can be 7 o'clock, and it can't be 4:30 because the little hand is pointing at the 7. So we need to make sure the big hand shows o'clock, which means it's pointing at the 12. Let's look. Yep, it's pointing at the 12. When the big hand's at the 12, it means o'clock. What does it mean? O'clock. So when we put the two pieces together, it says 7 o'clock.
Yay! It is 7 o'clock. Yeah!
What is the time?
Okay, little hand first. The little hand's pointed right here at the 11. Okay, so little hand at the 11. So it can't be 8. It could be 11:30 or it could be 11. So we need to check our big hands. Our big hand is pointed all the way up to 12, which shows us o'clock. So this shows 11 o'clock. Not 11:30, 11 o'clock.
Good job. It is 11 o'clock. Yeah!
Our song's coming.
One o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock,
Tick tock.
4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock,
Tick tock.
7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock,
Tick tock.
10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock,
Tick tock. Great job. Now we can do our Nearpod lesson. We need the code HKZRB. Again, that's HKZRB. I'm going to nearpod.com. You can also use the Nearpod app. When we enter our code HKZRB to join, we will need to start by putting in our name. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is tell time to the hour, which is the big hand pointing at the o'clock, right at the top, the 12. Okay? So all of these clocks have a big hand pointed at the 12. It says, this afternoon a cafeteria worker cooked soup. What time did the cafeteria worker start cooking the soup? So we need to look at the little hands. Is this little hand pointing at a 5 for 5 o'clock or at a 2 for 2 o'clock? It's pointed at 2, so we need to circle 2 for 2 o'clock. And then we need to write 2 o'clock on our clock. It says PM because it says afternoon. Now looking at the next one. This morning, a doctor went to work at a hospital. What time did the doctor arrive at the hospital? Okay, so we need to look at the little hands. Do you see this little hand and where it's pointing? It's pointing to the 7. So it's pointing to the 7. It's not pointing at 9. So this clock shows 7 o'clock. It's AM because it says morning, and morning is first AM. Okay. When we're done writing 2s and 7s and circling, we hit submit. Now we're practicing to the half hour. The half hour means that the big hand is pointed at the 6. So let's look at the first clock, pointed at the 6. The second clock, pointed at the 6. And the last clock is pointed at the 6. When it's pointed at the 6, it means that it's 30 minutes. Okay? And the reason is when we count by 5s like this, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and we stop at the big hand, we get to 30. Okay. This afternoon, I wrote a letter to thank a nurse. What time did I start writing the letter? First, we look at our little hand. Our little hand is in between 5 and 6. It did not get to 6 yet, so it's still on 5. Not on 1 and not on 8. Okay, so it's not to 6 yet, so it's 5 something. So we have to check and make sure it's at 5:30. Ready? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. This clock shows 5:30. So we circle 5:30 and we write 5:30 in the blank. Now, afternoon. Does afternoon mean AM or PM? AM is morning because A comes first. PM is later in the afternoon. Okay. Now let's look at the next one. Excuse me. This morning, a cafeteria worker cooked scrambled eggs in a hospital. What time did the cafeteria worker start cooking scrambled eggs? Okay. So first we look at our little hand. I finished drawing the line. It's between the 8 and the 9. It didn't get to 9 yet, so it's still on 8. So we're looking for 8 something. 8:30 maybe. 11:30 no. 6:30 no. So 8:30, we just need to check the minutes to make sure that's right. So we're counting by 5s. Can you count with me this time? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. We stop when we get to the big hand. So when we put it together, this clock shows 8:30. So let's circle 8:30 and write in our 8 for 8:30. Now, we need to circle AM or PM, and this says morning. Morning comes first, just like the letter A. So we're circling AM. 5:30 PM and 8:30 AM. When you're done circling and filling in the clocks, hit submit. Our last one, to the quarter hour. Also the hardest one, but you're almost done. 2 problems left to go. Smarty. All right. This afternoon, a janitor went to work at a hospital. What time did the janitor arrive at the hospital? So, we look at our little hand first. Did it get to 5 yet? Not yet, so it's still 4. So it's not 1, and it's not 7. So it's 4 something. Now, 4:45 is the answer. Let's check and make sure that's right. We have to start and count by 5s until we get to the big hand at the 9. Ready? Count with me, please. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So 4:45. 4:45. Okay, now we need to find out if it's AM or PM. It says afternoon. AM is morning because A comes first. So we have to circle PM. Okay, one more problem, guys. Now, first we look at the little hand. It didn't get to 3 yet, so it's still 2. Not 5, not 6. So we need to make sure that it's 2:15. We need to count by 5s and stop at the 3 because we stop at the big hand. 5, 10, 15, just like that. Are you ready to do it with me? 5, 10, 15. So this clock shows, when we put it together, 2:15. 2:15, 2:15. And the last part we have to do is circle AM or PM. Afternoon. Well, on the top we said afternoon was PM. So here afternoon is PM too. Afternoon is always PM. So when you're done circling and filling in your clock, you hit submit and you're all done practicing time. It's almost time for the weekend. I know you're excited about that.